Hello and welcome to another update video about Bitcoin. Well, the Bitcoin chart sees a little bit of volatility, or generally in the crypto sector, I should rather say. We see a little bit of volatility towards the end of the weekly candle. That's precisely what I highlighted earlier today in my last video, that, well, watch for a little bit of additional volatility a little later, but that's not a surprise usually for anybody who's quite familiar with the crypto space. You all know that there's typically a little bit of action towards the end of the weekly candle. Let's see if we get a little bit of action overnight as well. A little bit more of a sell-off. That is currently in line with my primary scenario. Remember that I'm still leaning towards a bit more of a sell-off, in wave C. That's sort of what I consider a little bit more likely, but to be honest, as I said, against 39,605, I'm focusing on higher prices. That could mean the market comes down a little lower in this white C wave of our wave 2 correction before going higher, or it might turn around a little earlier, basically within the orange count, and break out more directly. The purpose of the orange count, I added that a few days ago. It was just not to be surprised in case we get a direct breakout. But I also explained I really only start to lean towards it. I mean, it's probable, okay? But I really only start to lean towards it once I see a break above the high of the wave 1 at $43,870, okay? And that would be a break above the ascending trend line here as well. That would involve that of this inverse head and shoulders pattern, which we talked about, okay? But it can get a deep right shoulder. That's not a problem, right? So it's just that from an Elliott Wave point of view, I mean, you can watch this inverse head and shoulders and everything. I don't normally need these patterns. We use Elliott Wave. We get much more context than just a head and shoulders pattern. So we technically don't need it. I typically point it out when I see it. And if it's in line with Elliott Waves, with my primary scenario or so. But it doesn't really make a difference because the support area is well defined anyway. It gives you the levels to watch in this current correction. And as long as we're holding above the 78.6 retracement, the current scenario stays intact, which is focused on further upside in the short term. Okay, tomorrow, by the way, we're going to take a look at the daily time frame again. In this video, I really only want to focus on the 1 hour time frame. But because we have this initial 5-wave pattern to the upside, which I'm not entirely sure if it's an impulse, but I think it might be a diagonal. So which is a diagonal pattern. We can focus on higher because after 5 up, typically 3 down are following. And yeah, I mean, it might be that the wave 2 finished here already. It might be that the wave 2 is still unfolding. Again, I'm still leaning slightly to the idea that the wave 2 is still unfolding for the following reasons. Main reason is that the price rallied to the upside, in which, in my opinion, counts best as a 3-wave move. In addition to that, it got rejected in the resistance area, couldn't make a new high. But in reality, both are still likely options, right? So some of you asked me to add a micro support area for orange wave 2. In the previous video, I didn't add that, so I've added it throughout the day. And overall, in previous videos, I only highlighted that the orange, more directly bullish scenario is going to be invalidated with a break below orange wave 1, so the beginning of orange wave 1, and that is at 41,870. So that's the invalidation point for the orange count. But now we also have an ideal support area. So if really the orange count is playing out, which again is not my primary count, even though I hate this terminology, alternative and primary. I talked about that in the last video extensively. No, in the first one today. It still is a likely option. So it's not my primary, but is also likely, right? So you can choose how to play this. For me, the main support is down here, and any pullback into the yellow support area, as I already mentioned last week, could be a potential long trade opportunity. Now, no financial advice. If that trade works for you, and if that is part of your own trading plan, if it fits well to your trading plan and everything, that's up to you. But the lower we go now, while maintaining 39,605, the better the reward to risk ratio for a trade, for a long trade in the third wave or the C wave. Minimum target for that move up, if it's a C wave, I'd like to see 47,558. If it's a third wave, it could even go a little higher to 49, maybe 50K. Hope that helps. Obviously, it goes without saying that with a break below 39,605, I would have to revise the interpretation here. It wouldn't really change anything looking at the bigger picture. But if we get a sustained break below that level, it is going to be very likely that this fourth wave is still extending. That's my update about Bitcoin. Hope you liked the update. If you did, please hit the like button, leave a comment and subscribe. And if you really like the content, then please check out the channel membership. Also, make sure that you follow us on Instagram and Twitter for additional content. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye-bye.